So I've done a lot of webinars in my time, but this is the first time I'm doing Zoom webinar. I'm an old webinar guy from back in the days of GoToWebinar. So I apologize for any delay in getting this thing started. Let me open up the box so I can see who all's here. So welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. We're very excited to do this. This is the first webinar of the year. Usually Deidre and I are speaking on stage at different conferences, but it's time for us to start doing these. So today, we're going to be talking about your 2025 recruitment playbook on how to build your team. So what I need to do also is open up the chat box so I can see if anybody is saying anything here. So if you would, just so I know that you can hear me out there in webinar land, it's corny as hell, but just put a 1 in the box for me so I can see if you guys are hearing me loud and clear and we actually did start. Come on, not everybody at once. Yes, no? What do you think, Deidre?
Question life.
I see a thumbs up from Samar. Okay, cool. So anyway, so we're going to go through and do this. Do me a favor and hit JL and make sure that he's hearing us. So nobody's responding in there, we'll be good. We're going to cut this part out. We're going to start all over. You know what I'm talking about, right, Deidre?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. All right. So with that, when your 2025 recruitment playbook, we're going to look at building the team to help you thrive in 25 so that you have all the stepping stones and everything you need to do in order to be successful as you are growing your home service business, because that's what this is about. I mean, yeah, there's some companies out there that need to hire 1 or 2 people, but this is really about thriving and growing because that's what everybody this here is looking to do. Any response yet?
Not seeing it. Wait a minute. Q&A. Yes, we are good.
Oh, I don't even see that. So can you monitor that part?
I got you.
All right, cool. So with that, and looking at it, my background is, we've been doing this with Rapid Hire Pro now for a little over 3.5 years. We've worked with over 300 companies now and helped hire over 4,000 people. Before that, my background is in the marketing industry. And then before that, working at a power company. And in the marketing industry, working with some of the biggest names in the industry in order to learn exactly how this works and how to be able to get the results that we do. Deidre has been with us since day one at the beginning of this company. She's one of the founders, and she's also integral in the entire company as one of the shareholders, as well as our chief operations officer. So basically, she runs everything that we're going to talk about here. I jokingly tell people that I'm just the eye candy because I used to do all the sales calls, but I even have someone else doing that. So here's what we're going to do. Say hi, Deidre. I'm going to put
hi, everybody.
So just want to make sure your microphone's working too.
Yes.
There is that Q&A thing. I guess you can tell me what happens.
I got it covered. You just keep going.
I am on it. All right. So with that and looking at it, here's what we're going to cover. The first thing is we're going to look at the latest trends because, it's changing constantly. It's changed so much in the last 3 years. Things we're doing today are completely different than what we were doing 3 years ago. Some of it as far as evolution, some optimizations, other things have been forced to be able to forced on us to have to do some of these things. And so we're going to outline the most important trends and what you need to do to stay ahead of that curve, because especially in home services, it's getting more and more competitive every day. We're also going to look at how to get better applicants. The thing that we hear over and over again is, we want to hire for attitude and aptitude. We just aren't finding we're not finding qualified applicants. Most of the time, what they're saying is we're not finding experienced applicants. But in today's marketplace, you're looking more for qualified. And we're going to talk about the difference in experienced and qualified. And we're going to use a term that we've coined here recently at our company called Talent on Demand. And that's what we're really striving for with all of our clients, so that it's always moving, it's always on, and they can have talent on demand. And then we're going to look at how to dominate the local area. There are things that you can do in your recruiting that will bleed over into your marketing and vice versa. So we want to make sure that you have those steps in place to make it successful no matter what you do in your recruiting. Now, the reason that most of you are here, this is typically what we see. You need service techs and installers. You need salespeople, CSRs, dispatchers, or managers. That's where we kind of play. We don't really go to the C level that much. Most of the time, the biggest challenge is finding qualified talent. Notice I said qualified, not experienced. And usually the best source has been Indeed, referral. I was on a call this last week and the person said they were using Craigslist. I hadn't heard that in a couple of years. But anyway, so that's where most of it's happening. But the thing is, the next thing I go to is what most people kind of look at me puzzled whenever I mention and I ask them, and that is, what is your UMR? Your UMR is a phrase that we have coined here at Rapid Hire Pro, and that is usually around $30,000 to $50,000 a month of UMR for each empty truck sitting in your lot. That's unrealized monthly revenue. That's the thing that is keeping you from getting where you need to be. And from that, basically, what we're looking at is you need a consistent and scalable team building system that's predictable, that saves you time and money. Basically, if that's the case, put a 1 in the box. Let us know we're on the right track here. There we go. Now I see some ones coming in. And so with that, looking at it, we're going to look at the 4 key elements. This is where Deidre's going to take over because this is what she knows the most about. So the first.
So our first key element that we want to cover today is your brand. What is your brand saying about you and your company, and making sure that we're set up correctly there. But before we can even really dive too much into the brand, we want to, okay. So we're going to cover what we're covering first. Got it.
We're going to cover what we're going to tell them. We're going to tell them, then we're going to tell them.
There you go. So we're going to cover your branding. We're going to talk about your package. What are you offering? How are you positioning yourself? And to make sure that you're looking better than your competitors. We want to talk about your reputation and how to use that as a tool to be successful in recruitment as marketing. And then we also want to talk about your audience size. Your audience as a whole is significant in whether or not you're successful in moving with marketing for recruitment. Okay, but before we can talk about any of that, we have to build your avatar. And a lot of times we get people that come to us and they want to talk to us about what's their ideal employee look like, and they give us their job description. And think about a job description is it's a bunch of words on a piece of paper that have qualifications and non-negotiables and what your benefits are, but it really doesn't see who the person is as a whole. And before you can actually see what your avatar looks like, you need to know what you are as a company. So the very first thing that you need to understand is, where is your company going? What's your company vision? What is your company culture? How do you as a company rate what you feel is as important? What are your values? The next thing that we want to look at is, what is your company overall, like your core values, your company culture, and your vision. But then once we get all those kind of things in place, we want to look at a people analyzer. So how do we take those things and then look at each individual that's already in your company, and then know how to look at the people that we're wanting to add into your company going forward? We use a thing with EOS, and Jody, because you're certified, I'm gonna let you take over that part and talk a little bit about that.
Yep. So one of the things, like I said, right off the bat, yes, I am a certified EOS implementer, but I am not the implementer for our company. I'll talk about that a little more later. But with EOS, one of the things we look at in the people analyzer, you look at how people compare to your core values. But the other thing is, we call it this GWC. They get it, they want it, and they have the capacity to do it. What we see a lot of times is, whenever people are looking at recruiting, they're basically looking at, do they want it and do they have the capacity to do it? But the get it part is, they have to understand exactly what your company is all about and what's going to fit into your company and what's not going to fit into your company. So Jim says the chat is disabled. I have absolutely no idea how to enable the chat, but as the next time you're talking.
It is okay. If somebody has a question, they can go to the Q&A section and toss that up. I have it pulled up and I'll be answering questions along the way, as long as I'm not the one talking, because I don't multitask.
So they said, hey, remember, it's the first one we've done. So we're gonna get better at this as we go. So with that, the next thing is, in looking from that standpoint, is look at the branding. You ready to go take with this, Deidre?
Yeah, I can. So when you're looking at the branding, what are you saying that you're not saying? Too often we have companies that will come to us and they've got the white van mentality. And that's where they've got the white van with the logo set on the side. And I tell people all the time, that is the equivalent of me sitting up a white fold-out table in an empty storage room and then putting up a laptop and saying, here you go. It just speaks that you don't really care about your employees and about what they're riding around in, about your image, about, what the tools that they're going to have. Then it doesn't matter how much their jobs are. When you give off this impression, you're basically saying that you don't care about your employees. But having a really nice wrapped logoed van, you have to keep in mind, this is their office. This is the space that they're going to be in every day, in and out. So those newer vehicles, or well-maintained vehicles, but with really good branding, basically just screams to your employee that you care. So making sure that you understand, and we love to use branded logoed vans as ads in our marketing campaigns to make sure they're positioned correctly.
I didn't realize how big of an impact this really was. I mean, I heard the lip service of, yeah, the branded van makes a big difference. And then we have a company we work with that bought another company and came in and did a rebrand. And then they interviewed the person that was in control of it, well, not control, but one of the head top techs at the company. And they're like, if you would have told me just changing the logo and getting me a new van and coming up with a different system was going to make my life this much better, I would not have believed it. And just the fact of how endeared that person is to that company now, because they feel they have pride in the vehicle that they're driving and what they're doing in order to be able to go there. And the thing is, whenever we run these ads with good branding in place, what it does is people see the ads, they don't know that, they don't differentiate that it's an employment ad. When they see it, they'll actually call for service from their ads. Now, one of the things when it comes to branding, people are like, yeah, well, I've got trucks that's got all the stuff on it. Well, here's the thing. Both online and offline, does your brand inspire trust? If it's dirty, if it's a dirty white truck with old logos and everything on it, and then what most people do is they put everything they possibly can do on the side of that van. Well, this is kind of what it looks like when you're driving down the road. People are like, oh, the more stuff we put in there, the better it's going to be. But really, whenever you have great branding, less is more a lot of times. And so you can have less on there, but be much more impactful whenever it looks like this. So, the big difference is making it where that brand not only states what you do, but does it in such a way that differentiates you, that stands out amongst your competition, and also makes your employees feel good. The other thing it does, it starts attracting people to you. Because as we go through here, you're going to hear over and over again when we talk about the keeping employees starts in the recruiting process. Bringing them in and indoctrinating them into your company and how you do business and the way you communicate with them all the way through the process is what causes people to, when they come in, be a better fit for you. So after branding, the next step is the package. And I know this is your favorite part, Deidre.
It is. Before we continue down this, I want to say, like, the whole purpose behind this is to draw in those A players. Like, we're drawing people in. You're pulling people to your company. And when doing that, you're wanting to get the best of the best. And so you have to position yourself with the best of the best. And so the branding and every other component that we're going to be, sharing with you today is just to position yourself to understand that you're not going for the average guy that's just going to be able to do the job, but we're looking for the guy that's going to be able to change the course of your company. And that's the difference. We're not wanting just mediocre. We want what's best. And so first, we talked about branding. Now we're going to talk about your package. Now, some of you like to position that your package is a little bit more robust than what it actually is. The one thing that we want to make sure that we're not doing is a bait and switch. So when we're talking about marketing, we want to make sure that we actually understand what your offer is that you're going to give to the person that's going to join your team. So understanding how to position that is beyond just the typical, we give health insurance, we have dental, 401k. We don't really need that as much as we need, who are you as a company and do they align with your vision? Your title for the position should always match your pay. Your pay is not a benefit. Your pay is a part of the title that they will be holding. So positioning that as like, this is a major benefit, having competitive pay is super important if you want competitive individuals to come work for your team. But the benefit for working for your company should be something that's a little bit more outside the box of what you typically have seen in the past. We want to talk about that company culture. What is it like? What is the dynamic? What does it feel like to be a part of your team? What kind of services do you offer to those people out in your community? How are you connecting with your community? What learning opportunities are you giving? How can we position them to understand that they're not just coming in already made ready, but we can continue to grow them? We have continuing education. We're going to position you to have other things. What are your standards? What are your core values? How do you, as a team, what do you believe is the most important, crucial parts of who you are? Your workplace environment. What's the things that you're offering? a lot of people don't even think to add on to their job descriptions that you give things like, you know, a shoe allowance or a uniforms, gas cards to make sure that the gas is taken care of, that you maintenance your vehicles, like all those kind of things. Those are benefits that your competitors may not be doing. And so you want to make sure that you're letting them know that you're taking care of them because you take pride in your company. What that might look like, we do it in a couple of different ways. Because again, we're drawing people into us. Our whole goal is to continue to draw people, and we want the yes all the way through. You want them saying yes from the moment they know about you as a company. Yes, I believe in what this person's going. Yes, I believe in how they're structured. Yes, I believe in their vision. I want to be a part of this team. You're the one that needs to say yes or no as to whether or not they can be a part of that team. And so you want to do that all the way through your ads, your job descriptions, your career pages, and we're going to go through that process. But these are the things that you want to be communicating about who you are as a company. And that needs to be the very first thing that you establish before you can even set this process up.
Because with that, once you have that in place, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead here a little bit with your ads, you have to make sure your personality and your ads come through, but the branding has to be there. And it's about getting their attention. As I used to say, actually, I posted a video, a reel today, about the fact that it's like when they're scrolling through social media, you have to get their attention. It's kind of like the old movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. Some of you are probably too young to remember that, but he lifts the thing off the thing inside the cave, and the big ball starts rolling towards them. You got to be like he's running from that ball, but there's your ad, and it gets his attention. That's sort of where you have to be today. So it has to have your branding. It's got to have your personality and have those things come through. And we're going to come back and talk about this a little more, but I wanted to I should have put a terrible ad up here along with these, but it's about getting their attention, because all you're looking for them to do here is what we call opt-in. They're not taking the job here. They're getting their attention to get them to take that next step. And they're going to click apply now, and they're going to go and they're going to see the application page, which will show you what that looks like. But what we were talking about here goes into play all the way through the process. You have to be consistent with that information. And this information actually becomes just, if not more important, on the application page as it is in the ads that you run. So from there, the next step is your reputation. And with that, I mean, reputation is everything. And it's even brought to more of a head with sites like Amazon. Because when we have clients that come to us and are like, and they have less than stellar reputation, we know that it's going to be an uphill struggle, to the point that a lot of times we can't even take them on as a client, because we know that they've got to do some work on that first before we can actually do anything. The reason is because 92% would leave their current jobs if offered another role with a company that had an excellent reputation for basically the same thing. And 50% of candidates say they would work for a company, they wouldn't work for a company with a bad reputation, even for a pay increase. So, I mean, that's impact 50%, even for a pay increase. So even if you have and today, a bad reputation is, believe it or not, is like 4 stars. I mean, especially in home services. In the day and age of people with thousands of reviews and 4.9 stars, 4 stars, I mean, that is basically, it's like the kiss of death of trying to get somebody to come over there. And part of what has reinforced that, or caused us to be so picky, or the way we look at things, is our friends at Amazon. Now, believe it or not, I was in the market for a Santa Claus hat here not long ago. And if you look at this kind of is a microcosm of what happens in home services. Because you look, here is one that's had this 4.4 stars. Here's one with 4.3 stars. It's only 0.1 different. This one has 8 reviews. This one has 4,000 reviews. They've sold 10,000 in the last month. And this one, with only 0.1 star different, but only 8 reviews, they only sold 1,000. This one over here with 3.4 has sold 3,000. They've got twice as many reviews. It's what, I mean, usually with something on Amazon, we're usually not buying anything that has less than 4.4 stars. If we look at it, that's what we see happening in the marketplace. So making sure that you're covered and that your reputation is being built the right way everywhere they can possibly look. Because we've had people that have come through that are excited about a position, and they come back and go, I went and checked out their reviews or looked at it, and there's just no way that I can really do that. So that's the third thing. The fourth is audience size. And again, just like packages, this is Deidre's thing.
So when we're talking about the audience size, it's super crucial for you to understand who is your audience, what area are you in, what does that look like, how many people, how do you market it, the whole thing. So we've had, sorry,
You know what? I jumped ahead of you. Sorry.
you did. Go ahead.
All right. So the thing with audience size, it depends on what type of audience you're trying to get your message in front of. Audience sizes on different platforms have different impacts. The thing about finding quality candidates in today's marketplace is you have to go where everyone, don't go where everyone is fishing, because it's just like this. If you go to the quote unquote job boards, you're there with everyone else. One of our clients said, the way you guys do this and running ads the way you do, it's like we're the only person at a job fair. I apologize if you hear that. They're testing a generator right outside my office right now. Good news is the generator. The bad news is they're testing it right now. So with that, don't be one of many. Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Because most of the time when people are going to those sites, it's like they're standing in the unemployment line. There's a reason that they're looking for a job. So from there, where do we go? Well, if you look at social media, how much time do people spend on it today? Well, about 2.5 hours a day. So the thing says, a study shows that Americans spend almost a full day per week on social media. I was up in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada a few years back, and I was actually meeting with a painting contractor. And they said, well, not in Canada. People don't spend that much time on social media. And the fact is, they actually spend more time on social media in Canada. So I was able to refute that. Then the next thing I hear is that, oh, well, guess what? My audience isn't there. Again, yeah, they are. 48% of baby boomers, 77% of Gen X, 90% of millennials, and also Gen Z is there, because Gen Z's like, we're not going to be on Facebook. We're leaving. We're going to Instagram. Facebook said, we're buying Instagram. Hello, Gen Z. Welcome back. So they are everywhere on Facebook and Instagram. They're going to be there, and that's where they're going to be. When people ask us, well, what about LinkedIn? Here's the thing. Everybody that's on Facebook is not on LinkedIn, but just about everybody that's on LinkedIn is also on Facebook. But that's where the people that we're looking for are spending their time. And what do you think they're doing when they're sitting there at the Parks house waiting on a delivery, or they're sitting there waiting for something? They're scrolling through their phone. Now, with that in social media, that's where the audience size comes into play. This isn't your population, because not everybody in your population is there. So with that, the audience size is the best practice. And this is where Deidre has actually kind of narrowed this down to where we kind of know exactly what kind of results we can get and what to do if we don't have this. So the first is, go ahead, Deidre. Sorry.
Okay, so you're good. So first and foremost, to like negate any kind of fear that your person's not on Facebook, I would almost guarantee that 90% of you, especially over the Thanksgiving. So when you're going through that, making sure that you're positioning your ad spend correctly is super crucial. So Jody, if you want to pick back up on that slide, that's where we are leaving off. We're still on audience.
All right.
I'm glad that you're with us.
It's like
it's
oh,
our first one.
Yeah, where's it at?
We're doing great.
Voila, am I back?
You're back.
All right.
Just scroll through really quickly, because I am not sure I hit everything. Yep, we did that.
You talked about this.
We did talk about lifestyle ads.
Now you can see what they look like.
Now you can see what I was talking about. Move to the next one.
But I like this. Okay. So next is ad budget. Did you start that?
I did talk about the ad budget.
All right. And then about the sequence.
We are here.
All right. You're doing it or I'm doing it. I'm still.
You're doing it.
All right. So basically, the thing that you have to do is, once you have your ad budget set, you have the ads running, no matter where the lead is coming from, you have to treat the lead of an employment lead the same as you do a customer lead. So
Yes.
you have to bring them in and nurture them, because nobody's ready to take the step typically when they first see it. They got to be coaxed a little bit, especially whenever you're doing it. Like, for instance, like I said, no one's going on Facebook or Instagram looking for a job. You're catching their attention when they're scrolling through, looking at the latest brisket knife or a golf training aid or the soccer neighbor's kids soccer game pictures. And then there's an ad for your company. So the intent, they're granted, they see it, they're interested in it, but you have to help them through the process. Some people come through and bust all the way through it. But for the most part, you got to put them into a sequence that's going to nurture them, just like you have to do with customers. So you want to send them a different text message, a different email every day, encouraging them to take that step. Now we're going to go through all of these pieces of how we do this. Anybody can do the same thing, but bring them in through getting an application, doing assessments, doing a video interview, all the way through being able to be qualified to schedule an interview on your calendar. So basically, all of these steps have to happen in order for them to be qualified in order to take that next step. So from there, the first step is after the lead, they come in from the lead, you want to send them to a careers page. Now, it's important that this is branded exactly like what they've seen, no matter where they saw the ad. No matter what they've seen, your colors, your fonts, your branding, your logo, you want to have a video on this page because people engage with videos, pages with videos, 66% more than pages that don't have videos. And if you can set it to autoplay, that's even better, because today people have the attention span of a goldfish, which is, less than 8 seconds. That's why they can live in a little bowl and swim around and not bang their head against the glass, is because they don't remember they just did the circle. So with that, you got to get their attention and show them what's available. From there,
Another part, really quick before you switch, on this page, you'll see we talk about how we're investing in you, how we're collaborating, what our culture is. Again, just to point out these little key elements that you want to keep all the way from the ads to your career page. And now, Jody, go ahead and flip it over and let's talk about the application page.
So this is where those things you were talking about earlier need to live as well.
Yes. So in our new software, the way that we function in it, we can actually see how many visits we're getting all the way through. So your entire thing. So we can see that we typically have someone that sees the ad 3 to 4 times before they click on it. Then they come to the career page. And then what we're seeing next is that so many people are coming back and rereading this job description multiple times before they even fill it out. We didn't know that before when we were just utilizing your own pages, but when we pulled this in-house and we started to look at the number of times, so the information that's housed on your job description is so crucial as to whether or not those big named guys that you want to be on your team, those A players that you're looking for, like they need to see who you are, what you're about before they're going to even fill out that application.
Absolutely. And with that, making it mobile friendly, but also when we see a lot of other people's application pages, there's something that's a stumbling block on there that we don't have on here. And part of that is, here's a pro tip, and that is, no matter what kind of application page you're using, don't require a resume for them to be able to apply. Again and again, we see application pages on people's websites where upload a resume is there, but it's a required field. How many technicians and installers do you think have resumes laying around ready to upload? So basically now, if you're on the job board, they kind of have to create one, but if you have it on your website, make it so that it's optional. You're going to get a lot more people applying. We make it optional. And if it's there, if they have it, they'll upload it. But if not, we don't want to keep them from being able to go through the process. And then from there, when you're looking at it, 76 and 78% seem like pretty close numbers, right? They couldn't be farther apart. You see, 76% of job seekers state that not hearing back after applying for a job trumps the frustration of not hearing back after a first date. 78% of employers feel they do a great job of communicating, but only 47% of people basically say that they agree with that, of the job seekers. So there's a big disparity there. How are you communicating with them? The thing is, you need to communicate with them every way you can, every way possible, because they are looking for you. They're looking for it by text. You can do it by email. You can do it by voice drops. You don't know which medium they're going to use, so you want to use omnichannel, every channel you possibly can. But make sure if you're only using one, the main thing you do is text messaging, because 64% of candidates would rather hear about a success of the job they're interested in through text rather than through email or a phone call. So do all three, but if you're going to only do one, err on the side of doing SMS. We find that even though we do all three, over 90% of the communications that we have are SMS. Even the people that we've sent out, like the invitation for this, like 2 people responded on emails with questions, and we had about 15 people respond back with SMS. So it's we all communicate with text messages these days. So make sure you're at least doing that. And the more automated you have it, the better it's typically going to be. So we could do that. You get the application filled out. Then the next step that we do is we want to make sure there's certain qualifiers, right? Because they could have a great application and they could do really good on a test. But if they don't look the part and they don't speak the part, then they're really not going to be a fit. So the first thing we do is we have them do a one-way automated video interview. Now you see what they look like, how they communicate, and if it's somebody you want to take the next step with. Because a selling/service tech needs to communicate, and probably will communicate differently than an installer. They are going to make sure that they're not doing stupid things like driving while they're doing the video interview. Or, the one that we tell stories usually when we do this on stage. Deidre has a story and I have a story and we vote. But, one of them is one guy fires up a one-hitter pipe while he's doing the video interview and doesn't realize it. The other one, the guy's wearing a luchador mask, and when he takes it off, he's got tattoos on his face. You never know what you're going to get. In both of those cases, it saves the client from having to take the time to interview them or have them come. One of the things I always say is, like, have you ever had somebody pull into your parking lot, and by the time they get out of the car or their truck and start walking across the lot, you wish you didn't have to talk to them? You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but you kind of can. As I always tell people, remember that Santa Claus hat? If I show up to apply for a job to be an apprentice at anyone's company, you don't even watch the video interview, because I could be better suited to wear that Santa Claus hat at the shopping mall rather than coming to work for your company as an apprentice. Was there anything else on the video interview that I missed?
Yeah, another really crucial thing about this is so many people on the video interview, you're doing pre-screens on your phone. So you're individually calling each applicant and you're asking them 5 to 6 questions. This automates it to where you're not having to be a part of that process, and it eliminates it taking up so much of your time. By doing this, it's going to go ahead and pre-screen those candidates for you, so you can ask those 4 to 5 crucial questions that you want to ask. I know this first one is, what's your favorite sport? What drives you to win? And that's just an icebreaker that we like to ask to kind of get them in the system and getting involved and feeling confident about it. But another really great component that you're going to get from this is they're looking at themselves. So they're a reflection of who they are, and they're not mimicking you. See, like, I know if I'm sitting in Jody's office and I'm having a conversation with him and I'm interviewing with him, I may adapt my personality to, now I'm an avid book reader, because behind him, I see all of these wonderful books that he's read. So I would maybe start talking about 1 or 2 things that I'm seeing, or I might look at a picture on there. And so that candidates have a tendency to mirror what they're wanting, what you're wanting for them to be. On the video interview, they don't have anybody to mimic. They're 100% authentically themselves. And so you're getting to eliminate a part of your steps, so you're not in that process and taking up your crucial amount of time. And you're also getting to see a raw version of them and who they are.
Right. And the other thing is, as she pointed out, like she made the statement that I've read the books behind me. You think I may not have read them, so I did, though. Thanks for the vote of confidence.
I know.
I know, because I always talk about them. So from there, after the video interview, the next step is we want to kind of do an assessment to see how they think and operate. So we have a couple of different assessments that we use. We have a skills assessment, which is kind of like their decision-making process and those kind of things. And then we have the DISC personality profile. And it's kind of ironic. Just yesterday, somebody in one of the huge home service groups posted, what's the best assessment that you've found to use for identifying technicians? And there were some different answers, but it was overwhelmingly was the DISC profile. And some people love it, some people don't. But the thing about the DISC profile is it's one component. It's not the component. I don't think there is the component. You have to have a combination of things. But with DISC, The thing it is that, it's ours is a very abbreviated version of it, but it gives us a leading indicator very quickly if they're going to be a fit for the role that they're applying for. Doesn't mean they won't be a good fit for another role. Just, are they a fit for the one they're applying for? Because with a service tech today, service techs have to be able to not only diagnose and repair, they also have to be able to sell the homeowner on the best solution based on what the situation is. And therefore, they need to be high on eye or enthusiasm or influence so that they have that ability to go house to house, call to call, where your installers are typically more cautious thinkers, steady relators. They're more along the lines of, going to one house, being there for half a day and doing the install, or a full day, or going multiple days. They're not having to sell anything. They're basically, you want them to be more of the cautious thinker, steady relator to get the job done. And then all of them, you don't want to be really high on the D because they think they should be the boss. You still want to have some in there, but you don't want it to be the most dominant piece. And one thing we are doing now, and we're implementing, is we're taking it a step further, and we're starting to use the working genius. It's funny, somebody mentioned that in that thread as well, and it was kind of ironic that we're just starting to do this. But the working genius, what it does is it helps you identify, and helps even them identify what they do best at, if it's wonder or invention or discernment, galvanization, enablement, or tenacity, because it kind of gives you that same thing. Again, those installers probably going to be high on the T with tenacity to complete projects. And we're going to kind of look at that as well. And in our company, in looking at it, it really kind of helped us identify exactly who should be where, doing what. Did I stay with you?
100%. As you get your lights back.
Right.
So an example of this is, so Vanessa, who is Jody's wife and a huge crucial component in what we do here, she is WI. So she is a big thinker. She is a wanderer. She is also very ADD. And for whatever reason, those two things seem to match up a lot of the other people I've seen that are WI. But anyway, she's the type of person that she's big picture. And we've had meetings before where, and I am a DG, and then we've had some of our team that are the ETs on the team who just by the end of the meeting, we have to hang up, and then they're calling me in like, hey, could you explain this to me? And then I'm having a meeting after the meeting to discuss what we just had on the meeting. So it's understanding how you all work together and the different elements of who is able to communicate, who is the person who is able to galvanize and get your entire team, excited and pumped and moving in the right direction, and who is the person who's going to bring everything to fruition. Understanding who each crucial person is inside of your company then can let you see which areas you're missing. What are the different places that you need to fill? But then also you can look at all of my, technicians have, this certain trend based off of these are my best performers. And we see this, that when you're doing the test, then you're looking at, this guy has also that exact same makeup. Maybe I need to hire 2 more of them. It gives you a lot to add into your team.
Right. And I'm going to go to the 3-part slide, Deidre, just for the.
Okay.
So basically, in looking at it, just like with EOS, you have the get it, want it, can do it, or the capacity to do it. With here, basically, you have humble, hungry, and smart. You want your team players to be all 3 of those. And there's ways that you can do that. And these are going to talk about some of the interview questions, which is what I know a lot of you are here for. It is in looking at it. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, that when the first thing is, if you have somebody that's just humble, they're really the pawn in the company. They get pushed around. They don't say no to things. And if you have somebody that's hungry, they're more the bulldozer. They're really just out for them. If you have people that are smart, they're the charmers, right? They're the ones that come in, everybody likes them. They're kind of like, they get along with everybody, but they're really just sort of in it for themselves. Then you have the combinations. The first one is somebody that's humble and hungry is kind of like they're the accidental mess maker. They want to do good. They're hungry to do good, but they're so humble, they won't speak up if they see something going wrong. Then you have the combination of humble and smart. That's the lovable slacker, probably one of the worst ones, right? Because you like them, but they're not really doing what they need to do to keep up, and they're not really doing what they need to do to contribute to the team. And then you have the smart and hungry. They're the skillful politician, right? They're the ones that are always looking for, well, how can I do, what can I get out of this? What you really need is a combination of those 3, and that's the ideal team player. And what we've done on our team is, in order to do this, is we have EOS implementers, we have 2 working genius facilitators on our team to kind of understand how these go together. All I can do is tell you what's on the slide. I can't really tell you. I'm not smart enough to put them together how they work, but those are the pieces. And while I'm working through this and having that assessment that Deidre was mentioned showed earlier, that's how we get to find those people that are going to be the ideal team player. Because again, the reason people don't stay is they don't fit in the team. And so from there, we do all those pieces. The next thing is, all right, great. This is good. Onesies, twosies. What if I need to hire 5 people right now? What is the best way of going about doing that, Deidre?
Hiring events. Okay, so we have had the awesome privilege of doing a ton of hiring events this year. We put together a playbook on what that should look like. Hiring events are a way to get your candidates to move forward on your timeline. The thing about it is that natural recruiting is great. You want to continue to have your natural recruiting always on because you want to have some really great candidates in your back pocket for when someone leaves or you need to let someone go. But a hiring event pushes people to move forward on your time frame. So by saying, I'm going to host a hiring event, this is your checklist. You want to make sure that you have a really great location that can house enough people to accommodate. I would say anywhere between 30 to 200, depending on what it looks like. Your date and time is crucial. We have found that Saturday from 11 to 3 is typically the best time to do a hiring event. Also, if you're like, I can't do a weekend, Thursday was tested out as well. And out of the days of the week, Thursday is the best day to do hiring events and also webinars for show up time frames, just FYI. Thursday is great. And food is wonderful. If you feed them, they will come. Something else that you want to consider on the checklist that you want to make sure that you have is you need to create really good dynamic ads that's going to stop the scroll and say, you know what, I need to check you out. And again, the most important information that you're going to have on that is going to be your company culture, core values, who you are, and why should I even come and listen to what you're about. You want to make sure that those ads take them to a landing page and then also have that nurturing pipeline. That landing page and that nurture pipeline need to continue that message and have your voice as a company. Everything you do should have the voice of your company. And then the day of, signs everywhere. So signs out by the road, down the street, up and down. Signs are actually an understatement. People don't even think about how crucial they are for events like this because we've seen so many people drive off the streets and come in just because they saw a sign.
How many of these have you done, Deidre, to be?
Oh, Jesus. About 3 to 4 a month for the last year. I don't even know the count anymore.
And you ran those from your office or what?
No, I've been flying around everywhere in different cities and states. I basically have seen the United States now, almost every important city there is and how they function. And it's the same across the board. Every place, if you the signs, the food, the location, and then understanding your setup, having a really solid outline for the day of to tell them, you know, what the job is. I'm actually in the picture on that one at the front of the room, telling everybody what's up. But having a hiring event will actually push forward a higher volume of candidates. You do group interviews at that one, and then you convert them into hires within a week. So it changes the timeline to be your timeline as opposed to theirs.
How many people would you say that you've interviewed in the last year?
Upwards of probably 1,000 plus.
And so from that, what have you figured out?
Oh, a lot of the right interview questions. Okay, what I've really figured out is that the people, y'all don't know how to interview. Okay, so I know that Jody told you a little bit about our backgrounds and his background being in digital marketing, and my background has been more in the behavioral analysis of people. So I'm a people person. So in order for you to get your A player, you need to understand how to be in an interview setting. One, be present. I could not tell you how many people I have shadowed in interviews that they're answering their cell phones, they're checking their emails, they're getting notifications, somebody's walking into the room and having a conversation with them. Be present and give the person who's there in that interview the respect that they deserve, because you're showing them that you're going to respect them as an employee. Also, be prepared. The very worst interview you could ever do is a casual conversation. I have heard so many people are like, oh, just bring them in and we'll chat. And as we're talking, I'll really get a good feel for them. An unprepared interview is definitely going to put you in a position to where you're talking. And so our main points that we want to, let's go to the next one, is your outline. Okay. So when do you talk? When do you not talk? The first part is you're going to set expectations. You're basically going to come in and you're going to say, hey, this is what the interview is going to be. And like we did in the beginning, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you before I tell you. So I'm going to go over a little bit about the position, our company. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask me some questions, and then we'll wrap up. Does that sound good for you? The very first thing you want to do is talk about your mission, your core values, what you do, and what the role is. Now, all of this should be 5 minutes. If you're talking more than 5 minutes at that point, you have dominated the conversation and you're grading that interview based off of you. The next part that you're going to do is ask them those wonderful questions that we're going to go over, just a few of them, and then we can give you more as we go. But let them talk. Let them tell you everything that you need to know as to whether or not they would be a good fit. Because the goal of an interview is to figure out if I'm a good fit for you, but if you're also a good fit for us. So you want to tell them who you are. You want to continue that yes mentality, but then you need to be quiet and let them talk. And that's the next part of this. And then you're going to set the follow-up expectations.
One of the things that I tell people, like I do a lot of sales training, and the same thing here I think applies in the interview process, and that's writing at the top of your paper, WAIT. It stands for why am I talking? Because if you're interviewing and you're doing all the talking, you're just selling them on the job. You're not understanding if they're going to be a good fit or not. So
if you set it up correctly from the beginning, you've already sold them on the job through your job descriptions, your ads, the career page. They've learned everything that it was about you. Like you've already told them who you are. You're just reiterating it at that point. And now we need to see who they are. So the next tip, again, be quiet. 80% of the conversations that are had in an interview are held by the person who is doing the interview, not the interviewee. And that right there is a crucial part of the interview. At the end of it, all you're doing is now evaluating of whether or not your performance in that interview was top notch. Like, did I do well at asking the questions? How did my conversation go? I've had so many where I've been and I've watched it and I'm like, how do you think that interview went? And they're like, oh, it was awesome. And I was like, yeah, you told some really great stories. It made you feel good, didn't it? You know, but can you tell me anything about the candidate? And they couldn't. And it's because we're not listening to them. Also, be very open-minded. A lot of times we go into an interview and we have a few biases based on either their performance, their application and what they've said on it, or maybe a comment that they've made in their video interview, and we see the red flags. And what I like to talk about is the core to your interview questions. Is you go from a wide range and you need to get to the core of the answer. So when you're asking the questions, and we're going to go into that in a minute, but understanding to be open-minded and ask follow-up questions so that you can understand what is the actual thing that they're saying and not just assume that you get it from the jump. Also, be upfront. So in that interview, when you're talking about that role, make sure that you clearly communicate what the expectations are and what the benefits are and what they're going to get out of that. So often we hype up what the job is, or we'll sell to the point where it's like, oh, you're not going to be, doing overtime hours, or you're not going to be working nights and weekends. And then they come in and that's all they're doing. So making sure that you're upfront about the position, you set those right expectations are huge. All right. So here's the money where everybody wants. What are some great questions? So we're going to go over some questions and I'm going to help explain why we're asking it and what you're trying to get from it. Okay. And Jody, we may or may not do, I know we ran out of time. We may go through just one or two and play a little bit so I can show. But the very first question is if you could be an animal, what animal would you be and why? I got told the other day, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. And then I spun it on him and I said, answer it for me. And then I'll tell you the reason why. The thing about it is I don't care what the animal is that you pick. I want to know the why. So Jody, just for kicks and giggles, what animal would you be?
A bear.
Why?
Because basically they get to walk around. They're sort of the king of the forest. and they get to sleep all winter.
Okay. So that tells me that Jody is not someone that I need to hire as an install for my company, because he's kind of done and ready to retire. Okay. Besides the look of the white beard, he's ready to take a nap. But you want to then lead into some follow-up questions. I've had people say things like, I would be a fly so I could, be able to be a fly on the wall and hear the conversations. That is your drama queen. Stay far, far away. Then, mine is, I want to be a lion because the queen of the jungle. I am the lioness. I have a dominant personality, and I test a high D on the DISC profile. You do not want to hire me as a service technician because I think I know how to run the company better than you. So those kind of questions are going to lead you to more personality traits of the individual. Another question that we might want to look at is, what have you been doing the last 6 months to better yourself personally? So like you didn't check these. Okay.
I just saw that.
Yeah. On the widget, it doesn't tell you that when you're looking at that, and I'm going back for just a second, when you're looking at that, it tells you what your strengths are, what brings you energy. Then the next two are, kind of like what you're good at, but it doesn't really bring you energy. And then the last two are the things that it's not that it drains you. Something that drains me, I'm not the grammar person. And I don't need to spend my time figuring out grammar because I can do everything else. Jody was supposed to be the grammar person and fix this as I just randomly regurgitated.
But as you pointed out, I'm tired. So
you are tired and you need to retire. So anyway, finding out what they've been working on building themselves is super crucial, because you're going to see, like, are they actually taking consideration of their personal growth and ownership in that? The next question that we want to is, what in your worst fear, what are your coworkers saying behind your back? Because here's the deal. None of us are perfect. We all have the thing that we know is our weakness. This question allows you to see, do they have self-awareness? Like, I'm not looking for someone to say, oh no, my coworkers love me. Red flag. Are you sure they all love you? So there's nothing that the person that despises you at the last company that you worked at, and they don't have anything negative to say about you. That is a red flag for me, because it doesn't allow me to see that you have taken ownership of your failures or your mistakes, and understanding how to reposition yourself. Another great question is if we had to let you go in 60 days, what is the most likely reason? The great part of this question is they have to give you a reason. The way this question is positioned, they're going to have to give you something, and it's going to give you some really good insight as to who this person is and what flaws they have, and whether or not you can work with that and help coach and direct it the right way. What is your greatest weakness and what is your greatest failure? This is a wonderful question because it gives you two components. I want to see, can you answer a back-to-back question in one question? Did you hear both parts? Are you able to, because as we all know, our customers and the people that we're working with, they're not going to just rattle off one thing. They're going to rattle off 5 or 6 things. And we need to see that you can take in multiple things at one time. And the second thing is I want to see if how you measure success. Like, if your greatest success is measured at the level of, I graduated high school, which, by the way, I've heard that answer more than I should have ever heard that answer. And there's somebody in their 40s, I'm thinking to myself, what have you been doing the last 20 years of your life? Also, the next part of that is, what is your greatest failure? So when you're looking at your greatest failure, you typically have about 3 different styles of failure. You have the guy who, I know what I did. I know how I corrected it. I've grown from it. You have the guy who, I can't even explain. I don't know a failure. I don't have one, can't identify one. And then you have the guy who, this is the failure in my life, was my divorce, but my wife, she was psychotic. They blame someone else. Out of those 3, the person who's actually going to be the most detrimental to your company is actually the one who can't even identify a failure in their life, because you're going to be able to see the guy who constantly blames his teammates or his direct supervisor or your protocols and policies as a problem child. But the guy who cannot identify his greatest weakness or his greatest failure is actually the one that's going to be underperforming. You probably could think of someone right now inside your company who is underperforming for you, who is not quite meeting the bar. He is the guy who cannot tell you what his failure is because he doesn't know what achievement looks like. The next question that we want to cover is the role you're interviewing for the role that you want to be in 3 years from now? Like, what are your goals? Where are you going? And then shut up and let them answer the question, okay? Because what they're going to tell you in that is what their path looks like. And are you ready to invest in that individual for them to take on that path? What would keep you engaged at your last company? Instead of saying, why did you leave your last company? Because honestly, engagement is the reason why people leave. They're not engaged. They are absent. They have checked out. They're no longer there. So what was it that would have kept you engaged and motivated to stay with them? That will actually, that gives a positive spin to the question. The thing about it is all of these questions ask and then ask. So again, the surface level is going to be your first answer. So when you get that first response, ask follow-up questions to get to the core of what it is. So if I ask a question, I know you keep opening your mouth like you're going to talk. Give me 1 second. I have this one last thing and then I'll let you go. So when you're asking a question and they give you a negative response, don't check them out. Ask a follow-up question to see if they go into a positive way or a negative way. So if their thing that would have kept them engaged is, I don't know that anything would have ever kept me engaged, they were a horrible company. Well, what is something that you could have done to help move that in the right direction? And then if they go continuously negative, then you know that that's a person that you don't want on your team. So again, ask follow-up questions to get to the core of the answer that you're looking for, and then let them talk.
And
Joey, I'm going to let you talk.
That's okay. No, I was going to say those follow-up questions don't have to be like really, they can just be what I call Dr. Phil questions. Really? Tell me more about that. Right?
Yes.
So it can be very simple, very easy in order to do that. So no, I was going to just do that. So again, like I said, I'm still like regrouping from there. Like I said, the other thing is we're going to do, like I said, this is the first webinar we've done in a long time, probably in February. We're going to do an entire webinar, not only of these questions, but the keywords to look for in each one of these in order to know exactly what that is. So we're going to go in depth on that. The other thing is, we've gone through all the steps, right? We've talked about your branding, your package, how to get in front of people, the audience sizes need to be. So really what you're doing is you're building a recruiting funnel. That's what you're really doing. It's a recruiting funnel so that you can have talent on demand. So when you're looking at it, basically you build your avatar. Once you have your avatar, you build your market strategy. Every market is different because what works in Tucson may not work in Charlotte, might not work in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It may be the same thing that works in Miami. It may not. You have to look at the market strategy based on where you are, build the funnel. And yeah, it is that. It's a funnel. Basically, and a funnel is just something, every company has one. Your website is part of a funnel. Everything is just basically you're qualifying people as they come through, and then you build out your interview process. Now, the thing is that you can do all of these things yourself. There's nothing that we've talked about here that you can't do. But the thing is that, and Dee just mentioned a couple of times, our system and our software, the things that we have, and basically our team does all of these things for you. But the thing is, what do we do with everyone is we kind of go through, understand more about exactly what your company is, what you're looking for, and what the best strategy would be, because we might not be the best fit. Well, I guess we're not the best fit for everyone. But one of the things we do is everyone we have a call with, we share with you what that strategy should be, even if we're not the best fit. Then one of the things that we do also, the reason we're pretty good at this stuff, like I said, work with over 300 companies, and we've done over 4,000 hires in the last 3 years. It's 4,000 plus hires now, because we've gotten really good at these pieces of the puzzle, and we have our software that helps keep everything in one place all the way through there. So if you've gotten any value of this at all, I'm going to kind of go to this next thing, but I'm going to talk about some of those things. You can go to rapidhirepro.com and click on the schedule a call button. It's going to ask some questions. You can scan the QR code that's on here. Amazing. QR codes were dead, and then COVID brought them back. So QR codes are everywhere now. It's funny. There's people on here that you'll scan the QR code, even though you can go to the link, which is, I think, is awesome. that works that way. But the thing is that the reason that we have done so well and the reason we're doing so well as we grow is not just from the standpoint of, hey, we can do recruiting. It's that our team is basically indoctrinated into making sure that this is the best for everyone. We have 2 certified dream managers on our team. We have 2 certified working genius facilitators on our team. We have an EOS implementer on the team. Now, granted, I'm an EOS implementer, but I am not the implementer for our company. Number one is that I don't want to. Number 2 is even Jesus couldn't be a prophet in his own village. But really, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So having someone kind of look at this for you and kind of identify the things that need to happen, because for some of you, it could be the way your offer is positioned. It could be the way the audience size, the way you need to run ads is differently than what you're currently doing. But people come to us all the time and go, well, I've tried that whole social media thing. It didn't work. It only always works. It has to work. Like that's why they make money, because the thing works. What didn't work is the process that they came through beside that. There's nothing wrong with utilizing the job boards. Matter of fact, you can get great people from there, but it's again, walking them through the process. A lot of people have what they call an ATS. That's an applicant tracking system. I always say, don't you want to do more than track them? Don't you want to actually nurture them, indoctrinate them into your culture, and then be able to qualify and identify if they are going to be a fit for the team? Because there's a ton of people out there that may have the experience, they may have the qualifications, but do they have the heart? One of the things that Andrew, our business development manager, says is he doesn't care about putting butts in seats. He's in the business, and we're in the business of putting parts in trucks. We want to make sure that the people that come through here are the people that are going to do the best job and are going to be the right fit for your company. Does that mean it's 100% accurate? Hell no, nothing is. Nothing ever will be. But you're never going to find a team more dedicated to making sure this happens, and having someone assigned to you that you're on a first name basis with that helps you walk through this entire process. We hold our clients' hands step by step all the way through. Like I said, it's not a fit for everyone, but what is a fit is getting on a call, understanding and letting us know about your company, what you're looking for, and then us sharing some recommendations with you that will help you no matter what you choose to do as you move forward with your recruiting. I don't think we could be any more fair than that. I do thank everybody for taking the time and bearing with the generator. I mean, I'm sitting here and they're testing the generator. It didn't even dawn on me. I went out there, the guy was like, I knocked on your door. I'm like, dude, I'm doing a webinar. Of course I didn't answer the door. And there's nobody at the house. So anyway, of all days, he picked today at this time to do the generator test.
So Jody, we do have the Q&A, and I wanted to make sure that if anybody had any follow-up questions, we do have someone who asked, how many of the 4,000 hires are still employed by the company? So that's not an actual number that we just full transparency. It's not a number that we track, but I will say that we have had a number of testimonials, and feel free to go to our website and look through some of those testimonials about how they've hired some of the best employees that they've had, and they're still with them. That has been one thing that we've definitely been known for, is that the candidates that are coming through are the candidates that are the right fit for longevity. Because again, our goal is to 100% align people who have the like personality. And so I can coach the best I can in order how to position yourself in front of the right hire. But if you end up hiring the wrong guy, I can't make you not do that. So we've definitely given the advice of, hey, just because 2 people look the identical on the same sheet of paper, find out who they are and make sure that they align with your company culture and core values in order for them to stay long-term and they're not going to leave you. And the people who listen to that advice have definitely positioned themselves with longevity. Not everybody in that case, though. So I don't get to make the decision on who you hire. I wish I could.
Right. And the thing is that them staying there, the only thing we can do is help qualify that they are indoctrinated and meet what you're looking for. Because we've worked with companies that people have been hired, they've come in and then they haven't done their part in following through with what they said they would do for them. And so the people don't stay. I'm not saying that's always the case, but those things happen. And so that's why we can't really control that. Once it does happen, all we can do is do the best we can to give all of the indications that they're going to be there. When they stay, that's why we're not really quote unquote recruiters. We're really marketing and qualifying employees. Recruiters you're paying them $20,000 and 20% of the person's salary, but to guarantee that they're going to stay there. For what we charge, we really can't do that. So, and the thing is that that's really not what most home service companies need. What they need is the people that are qualified to meet what they need and also that are going to fit the culture. We're getting better as we do this. We're going through this. We're getting better with the culture fit, and we're doing things different now than we did 3 years ago. Right? We've learned as we've grown, and like I said, whenever you go through that whole process and work with over 300 companies, you learn a lot of lessons as you go. And that's one of the things that we continue to strive for, is to become, that company that does have talent on demand for any of the clients that are working with us. And then, like I said, working towards helping them with the longevity. There's some companies that hire people and they feel they want to bring them in and get them qualified and see if they're going to stick. Those people we can't, we do the best we can with that.
And that's why we've added so much additional coaching with you guys, doing webinars like this, because we want to position you to empower you to make good choices in your hiring needs. And that's been the one thing that we've learned over the last 3 years, is like, we want to make sure that you understand that just because they look good on paper doesn't mean that they're going to be the right fit for you. So I hope that, going over understanding who you are as a company and creating your correct avatar, and then how to utilize that and empower yourself. And today's webinar is giving you what you need to get yourself positioned correctly in your hiring for 2025. You muted yourself. And I read lips, but I don't know if everybody else does.
Yeah, no, it popped up and said, if you're trying to talk, you're muted. So
I got one more person to ask a question. Do we do I might have missed it, but do we have different questions for the video interview process? Yes. So the video interview process is based off of your company. So we pick we talk about it in the beginning. We find out who you are, what the position is, and then what are those key 5 questions. You don't want to ask more than 5 to 6 questions max on a video interview. 4 is relatively good. Anything below that, you're not getting enough. But we ask an icebreaker, and then we ask a few questions in the beginning just to kind of understand a little bit more about them, their personality, and their experience and qualifications. You want to keep this to a minimum, though.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Go.
I just want to kind of talk about one of the things, and that's a great question, is that we customize everything basically for every client. We want to know what your culture, we want to know your core values, because we can kind of tell from core values, from that standpoint. But also, we want to know what your personality is as a company. One of the things we do after someone sends over all their information for us to start building is we do a clarity call to really get clear on the personality of the company. Some companies are like the TV show The Office. Others are more run like SEAL Team 6. And they're different personalities. Just like if you want to go back and look at the ad, the one plumbing company is holding up a copper fitting. I didn't even know they made copper elbows that big, but it's holding it up like a telephone, right? So there's a more playful environment, because we want to know what the personality is, because we want to present and position the company in that way. The same thing with the interview questions. We have a list of like 20 questions or so, and it can be picked from that, or you can choose your own questions, something that you know specifically about your company that you want to make sure that anybody you hire is able to answer that question. One of the things I always joke about with electricians is, I worked for the power company for nearly 30 years, but I couldn't tell you the magic of wiring a 3-way switch. So you might ask somebody a question about how do you identify the traveler on a 3-way switch if they say that they're a journeyman electrician. I don't know if that's even a valid question, but that you can do that, those kind of things. You can also ask them questions on the application. If they're an HVAC technician, if they should have an EPA license number. What is that EPA license number? The other thing is, whenever we ask questions about their driving record and their criminal history, we can't do that in California, but just about everywhere else we can, because if they check the box that they had a DUI within the last 7 years, they're not insurable. There's no reason to go to the next step. Or if they have a felony conviction, right? There's all those things. So we look at those, we customize it to know what are those questions that are the most important things that are going to help us identify and qualify the best fit for you. Through that process, once we do go through everything, it looks like it fits the avatar. It's still your decision if you want to interview them. You come into the system, our software, you have a task there to look at Bruce. You go in and say, yeah, it looks like a great fit. Or you say, no, I don't really want to talk to them. We just need to know why. Because we want to get very good and very narrow on what those qualifications are. We have some clients, if you go look at the testimonials on our website, that say that it's like, we don't even look at them first. Just schedule the interview on our calendar. Now, it took a year to get there, right? But that's the thing is, and I don't really suggest that everyone do that. We really would like you to tell us after looking at the stuff that you want to, because we had so, but that's the level we go to. We want to make sure we personalize it and we customize it. And we have some things that are set in place, but we really want to be as custom as possible. That's why all of your pages are branded to you, your colors, fonts, logo, even the hex code colors. I remember I did a video about hex colors. I didn't even know that those were really a thing. I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't know it was important. You have people that will not go from one step to the next in a funnel and a process because the color is a little bit off and they think it's a scam. Matter of fact, a lot of times with social media sites, when they look at the ad, they have their bot, they even have people sometimes go to that next step and look at that next page. And if it looks different at all, they will disallow the ad and shut it down for discriminatory, for not conforming to their terms of service. So you have to be very careful, and you have, and we've, I said, come a long way in understanding exactly what those things are that work and what don't work. And I know I get on a soapbox and I talk a long time, but that's, you know, the thing is that's the point we go to is that, yeah, we get an onboarding form, but we still got to make sure that we understand everything. And then we share with you everything we're doing as we're building it out so that you can see it as we go through the process.
Great questions. Thanks, guys.
As I tell people, there should never be a surprise. I had one client that sent me a message and said, "Did you do this ad?" I mean, that's how I read it, right? Because I read everything. My wife says I read everything as negative as possible. And I was like, yeah, why? Is there a problem? And then the person didn't respond for 8 hours. And I'm like, is it the wrong colors? This is back whenever I was the one doing the ads. And they came back 8 hours later. No, dude, it's awesome. I love it. And like, my heart, I'm old, you can tell, I can't stand that. So let's see, will this webinar be sent?
Yes.
Link to review after? Absolutely. Yes, we will do that. I'm going to have to do some editing because
we may just take a sidebar and redo the whole thing and then send out a brand new
there's going to be
copy.
some editing that's going to be needed. Because, and I hate it because the guy that came to do the test is my neighbor. He's a great friend. And I wasn't, I mean, I don't think I wasn't completely out of the way, but I wasn't happy. But anyway, so, but yeah, we'll be sending a link to the recording. And if it is completely messed up, then we may be doing this again next week live. Who knows? We'll see. If so, we'll make sure everybody knows about it. So with that, again, like I said, go to Rapid Hire Pro. It doesn't cost a dime to get on a call. The call lasts about 30 minutes. Go through, understand a little bit about your situation, what you're looking for, and then some recommendations on what might be the right fit for you. And not all the time, not every time is it us. So with that, hope you all have a great rest of your week. Hope everybody, so we'll get the recording out. Hope everybody has a great week and great Christmas and New Year's if we don't speak to you before. And we'll let you know if we're going to have to do this again. So, if so, we probably will have the spellings corrected and we will not have an interruption in the middle.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, everyone.